Hey, what's up guys? Razkaz here. This is going to be my Demon Warlock guide for patch 5.2. I'm going to jump right in with the talents. Dark Regeneration is a must. You could possibly swap it out for Soul Leech in 3s if you find it necessary. Say you're not having to do burst healing but more absorb damage. That's always nice to go for. But Dark Regeneration, just because it increases all your healing taken, which goes really nice with your health stone, it'll just get you really well healed whenever you need it. I'm currently going with Howl of Terror for 3s, just because you don't normally fear the entire team with your normal cast fear, because it stops the other person being feared. So it's always nice to have a full fear on someone if they haven't got a trinket ready or anything to get out of it. It's always nice to go for Mortal Coil for when you're doing 1v1 or Battlegrounds, just because with that extra heal, the 15% along with Dark Regeneration's 25% more healing, it'll give you a nice heal and it's a nice fear. It's not very long and it's quite a long cooldown compared to the others on this talent row, but I think it's still a way that it could work. And for the level 45 ones, I'm going with Sack Pat because it's just by far the best. Dark Bargain's always nice, but the damage afterwards, if you don't have a healer, is just a lot. And considering it lasts for 8 seconds and Sack Pat lasts for 20 on a 1 minute cooldown, which is Dark Bargain has a 3, it's a good absorb whenever you need it, and it doesn't take long to cooldown. For the level 60 Blood Horror, they replaced from Blood Fear, which I actually quite like because now I have to cast my fear, which is always really nice because it just gets you back into the Warlock feeling. And getting Blood Horror, just instantly fearing someone for up to 4 seconds when they're melee attacking you, it's not great, but it's always nice because it's a 30-second cooldown and it fears them for a little bit. If you need a big peel, it'll be really nice to go for. Burning Rush I wouldn't recommend, and Unbound Will, maybe if you have a healer and he's really good, but it's a very big health sack if you don't have a healer with you, and it's also not very good because your trinket's not a very long cooldown anyway. And level 75 Grimoire of Supremacy is what I'm going with, just because it makes your Felguard that extra little bit stronger, which is what you'll be wanting to do because that's your main damage source pretty much, and it can always stick on the enemy. I would possibly swap it out for Grimoire of Service, just because the nice stun, and it also does the same damage as your one, which means you can get 30k like each attack from both of them put together. It's just quite a nice damage boost, but again it only lasts 20 seconds and it's a 2 minute cooldown, which doesn't seem worth it in my opinion. And Grimoire of Sacrifice, you would not do that as a Demonology. And for the level 90s, Killjaden's Cunning is always really fun, and it's always nice to be able to cast while moving. The other one you could go for is Manoroth's Fury, just because your Hellfire, if you're hitting lots of targets, that will generate your Demonic Fury really quickly. I've heard people say that Archimede's Vengeance is quite good at the moment. Like, some people are choosing it, maybe 1v1, like duels and battlegrounds possibly, but I'd still rather be able to move while casting spells. It's a nice big boost of mobility for Warlocks. Now I'm going to jump right onto the glyphs. I'll start with the major glyphs. I'm going with Glyph of Imp Swarm, which is a must, just because that extra Demonic Fury you'll get, and also the fact that they do a lot of damage now because they have a 15% damage increase. It's just big damage right there, and they each cast 10 I think before they despawn, and just considering it's not very long cooldown, it's only a 1.85 minutes for the amount of damage you can get off. It's just a nice big damage support for you. And Glyph of Healthstone is also a must, because when you put it together with your Dark Regeneration, increased healing from 100% from Healthstone, and also the 25% from Dark Regen, it gets you from 1% to 100% easily before the time runs out. I'm running with Glyph of Demon Hunting right now, just purely because in 3s, if I ever get that much pressure on me, I can always just pop it and I take reduced damage and I can get big absorbs from where I don't know what to change to, but Twilight Ward, you get absorbs all damage now when you're in that form, but it's quite hard to get enough Demon Fury for it. But it's always nice to go like that, just because it helps a lot with taking less damage. You could also choose Siphon Life, which I'd replace with Demon Hunting if I needed to, for maybe 2s, but it's still not much of a heal, but it's still pretty nice. And the other one you could choose is Shadow Flame. It does stop your charges on Hand of Gul'dan, but it slows them by 100% for 5.56 seconds, it says for me. But it's always nice to have 2 charges, I think, because now it stacks. So instead of doing 13k each tick, it'll do 16k. 26k, sorry. And now for the minor ones, Glyph of Hand of Gul'dan is always nice when you're rolling with Manaroth's Fury, just because the AoE range on that is insane. I'd recommend that for RBGs, just because the amount of damage you could do to all of the team members will be very nice. And the other one I'm going with is Glyph of Shadow Bolt. It only increases your damage by about 30% overall, but it's still better considering it's a minor glyph and there's nothing else you'd really want to replace it with. The only other thing I could say to replace it with is Glyph of Falling Meteor, but there's not much situations other than Battlegrounds of which you'd need that, or maybe if you dismount in World PvP and stuff, but I really don't choose that, to be honest. Right, now I'll jump right into the rotation. Right, I'm going to test it on these 2 target dummies, I'd say, just because it's a lot easier than doing missing on their skull, because I'm not hit cap for PvE. Right, let's get right into it. What you'd want to do is have your pet always on assist, just because the damage it'll do while wandering around is very good. And you want to keep Curse of the Elements, which increases damage taken by 5%, and it's just a really nice thing to have. What you want to do is put up your Corruption on both targets if you're doing 2 or however many targets there are. And then what you want to do is pop your Hand of Gul'dan on one, pop all your imps, make your pet Bladestorm, and then it stacks. So if you pop another one on, it'll stack up twice, which is always nice. And you should keep Soulfire casting when it procs, just because the damage is pretty nice and it generates a lot of Demon Fury. And what I normally do is end up Shadow Bolting when I'm not doing that, and then Soulfiring when not, and always keeping your Corruption up, guys. You need to do that. And then Pet Stunning whenever you need to, and don't ever cast Soulfire like this when it hasn't procced. Only cast it when it does, because it's such a waste of the time and the mana it costs, because we do actually go pretty quickly. But yeah, keep casting your Shadow Bolts, your Soulfires, and keeping your Corruption up. And then maybe if you're not trying to burst, keep doing 2 Hand of Gul'dans for the stacking. But other than that, just save your pet Bladestorm again until the time you want to burst. And then you can always pop in a Fell Flame, because it increases your time of your Corruption up to its maximum amount, which is about 29-30 seconds. And then when you are ready to burst, you could either pop your imps after your burst or during it, but I normally pop it at the start just so that you can do your burst quicker. But what you want to do now is pop that, pop all your cooldowns, put Doom on both players, pet Bladestorm, and I like to do my Chaos Wave and my Immolation Aura, because the AoE on it is really nice, and then knockback if you need to, and then spam Touch of Chaos, just because the AoE and the burst damage you'll get when doing all of these is really nice. However, you will run out of Demon Fury very quickly. But I think because of the burst damage that you'll get, considering that Demolocks don't have much burst at the moment, in my opinion, is much better if you have all of your constant dots up, which is going to be your Immolation Aura, just because it hits pretty low, but it could still do a lot of damage overall. And keeping your Chaos Waves up whenever you want to do more burst damage. But again, Hand of Gul'dan is always nice to keep up when not in Metamorphosis form, just because of the stacking and stuff. But to be honest, I'd rather do the big burst damage of Chaos Waves, so I don't really Hand of Gul'dan too often, but when I do, it's just to make good peels, because of the slow on it. And that's pretty much the rotation you want to do. Keep up Corruption, spam your Soulfire whenever it procs, and when it doesn't, your Shadow Bolt, and then keep up your Hand of Gul'dan if that's what you want to do, and then always do a Fell Flame whenever you want to keep up a longer dot on your Corruption. And you could also pop Hellfire just to make the big, it's not much damage, but it gives you really nice Demonic Fury. And look, I'm ready already, but I wouldn't recommend Soulfire when in Metamorphosis, just because the damage is increased by about 25k it just really doesn't seem worth it, because it takes up a lot of Demon Fury, 80 Demon Fury when it procs, and when it doesn't it's 160 I think, and it's very expensive. But that's pretty much the rotation, keeping up your Doom, Corruption, Soulfire when it procs, Hand of Gul'dan and Fellflame, and then Pet Blade Storm and Imp Swarm whenever you want to start bursting. And then remember to always use your Blood Horror if you're under pressure and you want to get some peels off. And this is a really good spec at the moment, guys. Demon is really fun to play in my opinion, and the 1v1 dueling damage, which I'll bring out a dueling video soon, is very good. I can pretty much do any class except for I can kill healers, just not very easily, and they have to make a mistake for me to be able to kill them. But it's still always a really fun class to play, really easy to play, I say, if you get the hang of it, but it's very fun and very good at the moment. In 3s I recommend it a lot, just because the peels and the healing that you have, and then the average damage across all the players on the other team, and the fact you can swap to them instantly, and the kiting we have because of your demonic circle, it's just very nice. But that's pretty much all you have to do with Demon, guys. Keep up your dots and then just cast whenever in between until your burst is ready. But remember, always use Carrion Swarm, just because of the knockback against healers. It's very good, either if you want to knock them off the edge of a arena map, or if you want to interrupt their casts, because we don't have a silence, all we have is a stun every 30 seconds. But it's always really nice to knock people back, and it's really fun as well. But that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.